I was on with a client yesterday and they were showing me what they had been doing on social media. And I'll tell you, with the product and the content that they put out, I finally said to them, this is like so corporate, busy buzzword speak. Like, this is not your audience. Like, I would go quantity over quality and just put out videos of just like real people having real conversations.
Welcome to PodBiz, the money behind the mic, where we get into the business of podcasting. I'm Norma Belenky, a podcast and media strategist.
And I'm Kiernan. I'm a podcast producer, and we're asking the question that's on everyone's mind. Where is the money in podcasting?
Each week, we talk with podcast industry professionals, marketers, and creators who are turning podcasts into a thriving business and making the industry what it is today.
With real revenue, real strategies, and real results.
If you're looking to grow or scale your show, and of course monetize, you're in the right place.
So let's get down to PodBiz.
Today we're speaking with Randi P'Pool, owner of P'Pool Media. And I'm also joined by my co-host of PodBiz, Kiernan. We'll be speaking about what it takes to create a great marketing campaign for your podcast, how to create value as a podcast service business, and the exciting rising tide for all podcast industry experts and creators. Let's get down to PodBiz. Today, we're joined by Randi P'Pool, owner of P'Pool Media. We're also joined by my PodBiz co-host, Kiernan. Hi, Randi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Well, since John's joining us today, I'm going to have him ask you the $1 million question.
Boy, the $1 million question has been on many of our episodes, and it is the thing that everybody wants to know. Randi, where is the money in podcasting?
That's a really great question. Right now, it's in a lot of different pots. And so you have to be very creative where you're getting it. So, I mean, I could say it's in different types of advertising, DAI, programmatic, I could say, but really, truly, I think the answer lies in with whatever type of content you have, the type of customized sponsorships you're able to bring to your clients.
Absolutely. And Randi, how did you get into the podcasting industry?
5 years ago now, prior to this, my old career was I was in corporate broadcasting. And so I had been doing that for a very long time, working my way up. I had been on air at one point, and then really found, my calling in the marketing department. Also because I did not love being stuck in a studio for 5 hours by myself, talking to myself. It takes a special type of person to be on the air every single day. But so I was in corporate broadcasting, and I had started my career with one company, and then they sold and started a new company, and I went to the new company. So I always joked that I was with the same mafia family my entire career, basically. And I started when I was very young, almost just straight out of college. And then, basically into my 40s, I was with them and had worked my way up. And, I had just started thinking, what if I did my own thing? I'm a Leo, and I like to be my own boss. And so I had been thinking that for a while. And then the pandemic hit, and, not to get too woo-woo, but like, people were dying in front of you. Like, it was
Yeah.
our mortality was in front of our eyes. And I said to my husband, like, if I don't do this now, I don't know when I'm going to do this. And I actually called my dad and I said, I don't want to be on my deathbed wondering what if. And so he said, you got to do it. So my husband was very nervous and said, what are we going to do if we can't, make this work? And I said, give me 6 months. Just give me 6 months, and I'm going to call everybody I know. And that's what I did. I started calling everybody basically in the broadcast. And with my old position, because I had worked my way up, I had worked in every facet of marketing, from the social media to the email marketing to the website, branding. And I had launched several radio stations. My last position in corporate broadcasting was VP of marketing for the entire company, which was over 250 radio stations and 4 live performance venues. So I really had run the gamut on everything that you could do in marketing, possibly, including PR. So when I left and started it, I called everybody and I said, I'm starting my own marketing company. And they said, what are you offering? And I said, what do you need? And that's basically how it started. And luckily, because I had so many great people in radio, they started calling around. There was a handful of CEOs that said, "I'm going to put your name out there for you," which
It's awesome.
really speaks to building relationships, solid relationships. And so that's how it started. And I mean, truly, there are a few CEOs out there that I feel like I owe an agent's fee to, for helping me really. And from there, it built. And I think the benefit of starting it in the pandemic as well, remote work, people needing to consolidate their departments and figure out how to, have fractional workers do, check those boxes. I feel like that's kind of what really benefited me. And so it's been 5 years. And with I started in radio broadcast, but it just started organically transitioning into podcasting, which I find so exciting. And so for the last 5 years, I've also been in the podcasting space as well. And there's a lot of similarities in both, right? And there are also a lot of people from radio that have transitioned into podcasting. So we all, still talk, and so yeah, that's kind of how it started, how I got into podcasting. But now I will say my business, my clientele is majority podcast companies, B2B or B2C, and a very small portion now is radio.
And I think that's important too, because you're seeing that this industry shifted over the last couple of years. And, anyone that knows you or anyone that this is their first time experiencing what you do knows that you've worked with a lot of these different companies. And so you have this swath of information, this swath of experience and services that you provide. And as we're talking about money in the podcasting ecosystem, the marketing side of it is hugely important. If people don't know who you are, if they don't know that you exist, then no one's going to be coming to buy your product, right? Which is why marketing and podcasting is such an important piece. Even with a lot of the work that I do, I tell people all the time, listen, the product that you're putting out, we need to think of what kind of podcast you're putting out, because even if it's, you want it to be about your business, you want it to be brought up by your business, but it really should be about something that's going to bring traffic, but also bring interest to, you're not just creating a podcast about your bank, right? You're creating a podcast about something that is facilitated by your bank that's going to bring you in. So my question for you, or one of my questions for you, is in terms of the marketing ecosystem for people to drive more traffic and make more money in podcasting, what are some of the most important things that you think they should be spending money on to be able to get that back?
It really depends on who your audience is, right? So you need to really first dial it down to the type of content that you're putting out there and who's listening to it, who wants to listen to it. The three of us were on a panel a few months ago where we talked about, you can go ahead and talk about, I don't know, I'm going to say fly fishing. It's not a hobby of mine, right? You can talk about that all day long, but if there's no audience to listen to it or enjoy it, you can still put out that podcast, but just realize that there's no audience, right? So I think really first and foremost, you need to figure out who your audience is and where they are, right? So, again, if it's fly fishing and you're looking at some sort of older male audience, then let's go ahead and dissect that. Where are those people every day? What are the behaviors that they are naturally partaking in, right? Participating in every day. And so that's kind of where you need to start. You need to look at where the audience is. And then, I mean, you just need to leverage the crap out of that.
That's a great point, Randy. I think it's also about what we've seen in PodBiz so far with all the people we've spoken to is that spirit of service, right? And like you said, even just from the initial inception of your company of what are you offering? What do you need, right? So there's that. And then that translates from, you offering marketing services to your clients offering content to their audience, right? It's what do you need? What are you interested in? And so continuing to be in that spirit of service and to meet people where they're at, right? Like the fly fishing community, right? Maybe a specific demographic. They might not be on TikTok as much as they are on the History Channel or on YouTube on specific fly fishing channels. So it's definitely really important to remember to serve your audience, whoever they are, right? Or your clients. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that.
Actually, I was on with a client, well, a potential client yesterday, and they were showing me what they had been doing on social media. And I'll tell you, with the product and the content that they put out, I finally said to them, I was like, this is like so corporate, busy buzzword speak. Like, this is not your audience. Like, I would go quantity over quality and just put out videos of just like real people having real conversations, you know? So it depends on who your audience is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what would you say is one key move or metric or even a mindset that's made the biggest impact on the success of your career in podcasting and the company you've built?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is something that I think about actually every single day. The mindset that I have had to get into is, you know, I had different thoughts about what owning and running your own company were before I did it, and it's completely different. And it's unpredictable. You know, yes, we can follow revenue trends and, economic trends and go, "Okay, well, people are pulling their advertising." I don't necessarily believe my company has, like, paralleled those, but I would say I have to not take things personally. And it's hard when you are your own company too. I have a team, a small team, but I'm the face of the company. So I'm having the majority of the one-on-one meetings with clients. Um, I definitely spend more emotional, mental energy every single day than I have ever spent in my entire life. And so really, I mean, it's so cliche to say, but like building a thicker skin, I have had to do that over the last few years. It's been a learning experience. And I was in corporate, world where there's a lot of just competitive, but this is different. This is different. Like you can't take things personally. People are gonna say no. People, knowing that things just they will happen at the right times. And when it's not the right time, it doesn't happen. So it's really been a shift in my mindset and knowing that I am a very experienced person that can bring a lot to the table, regardless if you take my services or not.
Yeah, I think having that sense of value, we've had a few other guests talk about that. And I think it's also, it goes back to that spirit of service thing, right? And it's for all podcasters out there as well, and for everybody in the industry, right? Be clear on what the value you bring is and don't compromise on it. Your experience speaks for yourself. And it's so easy, especially in an industry, you came from a more established industry, but podcasting itself is, kind of built on this industry of creators who come into the space as independents. And so valuing those skills is something that as the industry itself grows, we're all seeing ourselves grow, right? It's something where, you see it done, you learn how to do it, you do it for yourself, then you start to think, oh, can I do this for others? Is it something I can offer? And so I think it's definitely something that everybody within the podcasting industry who has their own business is seeing at some level. Even on the ad side, it's like, well, 10 years ago, people didn't take ads on podcasting as seriously as they do now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that with what you just said, to your point of, this is a new industry, and also in podcasting, algorithms, beliefs change with the wind, which I find really exciting because I feel like we all now have that understanding like, oh, Spotify might change their algorithm tomorrow and then we're all going to roll with it,
Yeah.
Um, things like that happen and we all kind of we all understand that the pivots are necessary and we find it exciting. I mean, I do. I find it exciting because yes, radio where I come from, I enjoy it. I feel very confident in what I know over there, but like there's not as many changes happening as frequently as there are in podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's something that people don't know about what you do?
Wow, that's a good question. What they don't know about what I do. I don't know. You know, I, I guess I would say that I guess people find it surprising. This is so silly, but I take everything very to heart, and so um I will check in on people. And, I don't know if it's kind of like a female thing or what, but, like I start to develop all these very personal relationships with my clients. And so I know a lot about and they know a lot about me. And I share. I tend to be, a little bit of an oversharer on things. And so if we connect on something and it's not necessarily work related, but oh my gosh, yeah, are you watching that television show? Oh my gosh, I love it. Or, things like that. So I'm extremely personable and then personal with my clients. And so I guess if you're not somebody that likes that, then it's probably not the agency for you. But if you do, I think it also helps with, what we're doing on the business side of things. I might see something that you don't necessarily see because you're so in it. So I don't know. I mean, that would kind of be the thing that I would think about. Also, what people don't know is people often comment about this backdrop that I have over here with, like, the luminaires and, like, there's also another because my husband's still in radio. However, the story that I tell is, on the radio side, I've been nominated several times, most influential women in radio. I just got, like, for, like, I don't know, 7 years straight. So every year you get one of these plaques. Well, I had this wall covered in plaques, and one of my clients, because we are so he said, "That's so cringy. Take it down." So, we had to do a redesign, but there's only one now. The rest are gone.
No, I think you should put them back up. They're your
I
accomplishments.
Yeah.
earned them, right? But if
Yeah.
it's cringe listen, I have teenage daughters. If things are cringy, I've gotta
Yeah,
change.
you got to pivot. You got to pivot away from the cringe.
It's not cringy. I think that it showcases your accomplishments and everything, that you've done there. And I like what you said also about the team that you've built, because I think another thing when it comes to making money in podcasting is also realizing that you don't have to do everything yourself.
Yes.
And even if you're the person who's steering the ship with you with your company, but if we think about podcasting in general, even if it is a branded podcast from a company, there are a lot of different things that happen with it. You have to record it, you have to market it, you have to create the assets for it, right? It has a life of its own. And so a lot of people can think about it as a business. And I think a really important piece is knowing who to delegate to and knowing what you should be delegating. As a podcaster, you're a creator. Even if it is for a business, you're doing the creative side of being the host potentially, or whatever the case may be. So knowing what to delegate and when to delegate is a really important piece, not just of making your podcast be as great as it can be, but even if you have to spend a little bit of money to make that back, to make the product better, you're never going to sell yourself short on investing in yourself by investing in others.
Absolutely. I think that podcasters have this pitfall a lot of the time, and companies do as well, right? I think what you said about, having that fractional role of like, how can we take this off your plate? I think a lot of independent podcast service businesses, John and myself, it's one of those things where it's not that you're doing everything maybe it's not that you're doing everything for them because you are, but it's also that you're integrating with their team, because we've all worked together on a team and we're all team oriented people and we all have our own businesses. And so it's definitely something where you see the integration and how it can really benefit everybody.
Yes, absolutely. I will say on the side of because, that's what we do. There are a few clients of ours that, have just, gotten rid of like their full-time teams and then brought us in for fractional work. And so then we do integrate with the existing team, which is great. Like I'm a Leo, I'm an extrovert. I feed off of that external energy. I wish we were in person sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes just to kind of get that. But I will say that's also, you guys have, this too, jumping between companies. That's not as big a deal as jumping between each culture, and that can be I mean, sometimes at the end of the day when I'm exhausted, I know it's because I've had to flip the switch on the cultures and the way that I'm speaking and the messaging, because different teams are responsive to different types of requests, right? Or the way that you position that and deliver it, and so, I think that is a big piece of it too, but at the end of the day, the thing that I wanna do is I do wanna help whether you are a single independent creator or you are a large network, I want to help you grow your business. Like, that's what I am here to help you do. So at the end of the day, that's what we wanna do is we want to figure out all of the opportunities where there are avenues for growth for you, and then help you execute that, however that may look. And so that's kind of what I remind myself at the end of the day is that we're doing good work. We're doing the things that are moving people forward and pushing their companies forward. But it can jumping between those cultures can be a little bit exhausting sometimes.
I think that's something where, like you said, the thing that you realized about owning a business is not the work, but the mindset of it as well. Yeah, because you're not just working for your business, you're working for all of the businesses of your clients as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, for example, so my husband is on a morning show with a big company and he'll take 3 days off. He'll take a Wednesday through Friday off. He's off. There is no such thing. I will be in London. We were all just in London. I will be in London answering emails at 10 o'clock at night. I will be in Disneyland with my family answering emails, which again, the trade-off is that I am able to call the shots. I have a flexible work schedule. I can do those things. But I'm truly never off. And also I think it comes back to me making sure that everybody is, that's everybody's getting taken care of. Everybody's getting the answers that they need and those types of things.
Well, Randy, if you had to start over again today, is there anything you would do differently to grow faster or smarter?
Wow, that is a really good question. I actually need to put that into like my daily journal entries. What would I do differently? I don't know. I think the benefit to starting when I did and how I did it was that I didn't know. I didn't know what the challenges would be, what the stressors would be. I jumped off the ledge and I told my husband that I'm just going to jump and give me 6 months to land. And I think the naiveness, like just the unknowing of what was going to come my way. But honestly, it was all good things. It's just been learning how to navigate these challenges that I think that face everyone and is affected by them, but just they're differently when you own the company and then like when a client leaves, it's it's devastating not only, like, to your ego, but financially, right? So,
Mhm.
like, being able to take those in stride now, and that was a learning process. I mean, really, ego first for somebody to go, "Look, we're not gonna continue," and then the financial hit. So I think that's really the big learning process, but I'm glad I didn't know that ahead of time
Sure.
because it's scary.
Yeah. And I think that also speaks to just, doing your best and knowing that you stand behind your work and being kind and knowing that your work has value. Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's been this journey that I've been on, and this year, I was like, "Yeah, we got this. We got this." Like, it's everything is great. And honestly, like the people that we meet and we work with in the podcasting space. I mean, I said this to you, Norma Jean, after our session. I was like, "Look at the stage. Look at the five of us on stage. We're all friends." Like,
Yeah.
how amazing is that? I mean, so, like, I love the type of people, A, we've met, and B, that we've been able to, like, facilitate these relationships with in the podcast industry. I find it, like I said, very exciting, and I find the people just cool, Everybody has been great to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Randy, we ask everybody one final question. What are you most excited about coming up in the podcasting industry?
Oh my god, what am I not excited about? Honestly, I feel like this has been such a year of good transitions for us. Like I'm thinking back to the events that we've been to so far and the people that we've met with and all of the new products that are coming. This is what I'll say. Just being in London having these conversations, don't you guys feel like Norma Jean, you said it before earlier, like this is such a new industry and thing everybody was starting to create these products and these softwares and these platforms and they all made sense, and we're like, "Yeah, yeah, we need this, we need this." But everyone is now honing them. And so seeing versions 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the podcast show in London, I was just like, "Oh my god. We are doing some cool things now, like, just as an industry." So I'm just really excited to see. I mean, it's so stupid to say, but, like, what the next 6 months brings for everybody, but just, like, how all of these these support products and softwares continue to advance, but also like what does podcasting look like in the next year? Like, I mean, I know video's been such a big thing. So what is that going to continue to look like? What are the next steps look like for us in that? I think it's all of that together is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Randi P'Pool, thank you so much for joining us on PodBiz.
Thank you. It's been fun.